Hi everyone. Hello, thank you for joining us. Can I just ask you to raise your hand if you can hear me okay? Amazing. Good, that's a good sign. Thank you, everybody. Okay, you can put those down now, that's great. So we're just seeing a few other people are joining us, so I'll just give it a couple more minutes as you do, and then we'll get started. I'll just stop sharing this for now so you can see me. Hopefully you can see me okay. So this session is being recorded, and that means you can come back and watch it again if you want to. You can also tell your friends to come back and watch it, because we're so lucky to be joined by two amazing practitioners this evening, Naky Hwang and Lorna Inman, and they're here to talk about their creative practices. This week, as you know, is all about exploring the intersection between technology and imaginary worlds, a place where illustration and visual media can really flourish. And I think it's just such a fantastic way to start off the week by hearing all about virtual reality practices. So personally, I see both of our guests' work as a form of expanded illustration, creating visual work which can be experienced and felt around us. And it really pushes the boundaries of what a contemporary illustration and visual media practice can be. And I personally find this extremely exciting as someone who's passionate about visual communication in all its forms. So what's going to happen today is that we're going to see and hear presentations from both Lorna and Naky. And then I have some pre-prepared questions to ask. And then we'll open it up to all of you to ask any questions that you might have about what you've seen, or anything else really to do with today's talk. So please note that you'll have to turn your mic on to do so. So at the end, I'll ask if anyone's got a question. If you want to raise your hand, and then you can turn your mic on. You can turn your camera on as well if you like, and ask what you'd like to know. So again, I just want to say a huge thank you to Naky and Lorna for joining us tonight. And I want to say a massive thank you to all of you students as well for coming to listen and learn, and I'm sure be very inspired about what you see and hear tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Naky, who's going to start us off this evening.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yay, thank you for great introduction. That's so smooth.
Very welcome. Thank you for being here.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen file. And yeah, thank you for having me today. I'm so happy to share my practice with you all guys. Yeah. So I'm Naky. I worked as an illustrator since 2012 after graduate my BA in fashion design in Korea. So I'd like to share my previous work before I moved to VR. As you can see, I worked with various clients and over various media, like, like packaging, publications, and building wrapping and installations. At the time, I worked using the Photoshop and sent the digital file data to the clients, and then they choose the material to materialize it. So my job was just make the digital file that has no body, like a ghost. And in 2016, I moved to London to study illustration more deeply. And at the time, one of my goals was I wanted to find a perfect medium for my artwork. So in 2017, I participated a VR drawing workshop. I remember that it was 5-day long workshop learning the program called Tilt Brush. As you might know, it's a VR painting program. And it was my first time to have a look into the VR headset and to use it. It was so fascinating, and I felt like I was in my element at the time. So I did more research after the workshop. I found that there is another VR program called VR painting program called Quill. For me, Quill has the interface that is more familiar to me. As you can see, it has layers like the Photoshop. So I started working with Quill. I'm going to share my VR workflow. First, I drew something using the color pencil. And then I wear my headset and do the VR painting or animating it. It's kind of like I make kind of virtual environment. You can put, yeah. It's a kind of virtual illustrations, as Rachel said before. And I think there are 3 ways to use your VR artwork. First, you can capture the 2-dimensional image to print it. And second, you can capture the video to make moving image or animation film. Basically, in VR painting, each stroke is actually 3D model. So you can export it to make something like 3D sculpture like that. And yeah. So I will show you the printed works that I made with Quill. This is a menu artwork for Isla, which is a restaurant in King's Cross. I represent the sensory landscape of Isla, like taste of the food, sounds from the external garden, atmosphere in the restaurant, and so on. And this is a cover art for Korean singer-songwriter Stella Jang. I represent the music and I visualize the sound of each instrument and the lyrics of the song. And this is a digital printed fabric. I made this for my VR installation. So in the Quill, the maximum size you can capture the image is over 30K pixels. So you can print it in a big size as well. Like this artwork is printed in 2 meter by 20 or something. And this work is for Alta Cucina, which is a restaurant in Korea. I visualize the ingredients and the taste of the food. And I will show you the video works that I made using Quill, but sadly I can't share my screen. So maybe you can search it on the YouTube. It's called, the title of the song is Miracle by Stella Jung. Yeah, this is only the capture the image of the YouTube. So you can capture the video as well. In the quill, you have the kind of camera, and you can record it like using handheld camera in the real life. And yeah, so I will show you my works that I made with the models exported from the quill. This is an AR filter that I made. I used the program called Spark AR. You can try with the QR code on the screen. Yeah, can I turn to the next page? If you want to try the code, if you need more time, you can raise your hand or something. Okay, then let's move on. When you want to make a VR experience, which means that you need to make a VR application that can be run in the VR headset. And to do so, you need to know some programming languages. But when you use game engines like Unity or Unreal Engine, that helps you can make it more easier. So I use Unity to make VR experiences. So it's a screenshot of the Unity. And this is my recent work that I show in the Typo Jansi, which is International Typography Biennale in Seoul, Korea. This is my VR installation. With this work, I wanted to make instant but intimate relationship with the viewer by making a tent as a temporal private room in the public space. So the viewer can see the VR environment or VR landscape in this tent. And so the VR experience itself is like have a look in my innerscape, that each element has a unique shape and behavior. So I made a map to guide the VR experiences. There's a map and the key here. And this is basically VR experiences for only one people. So I wanted to share it with other viewers of the exhibition. So I used the Chromecast, which can share the screen in the VR headset to this TV screen, so the other people can see what the viewer is seeing in the VR. So yeah, I wanted to share the VR video as well, but because of the technical issue, so I can't. So yeah, maybe I can share it later or something somewhere. And this is an example of the 3D printing. I printed one of my VR drawings to bring it to the reality and to give them the physical body. I think this way has more possibility to make art. Yeah, this is the end of what I prepared. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naky. I wonder,
Thank you.
I found your YouTube video, and I'm wondering if I can share it from my end, and if you had anything Do you have any links to the work that you'd like to show with moving image? Because I can share it and then we can have a look.
Okay. I will send you. I found it.
So I'll play the first one, the Stella Jiang one, and then if you want to send some more, I can share those. Okay, so thank you so much for that introduction, and let's have a look at some of this moving image work now. So bear with me.
Thank you.
Is this the right one? It looks like it.
Yeah. It's right. Right.
I'm not sure if you'll hear my sound, but we'll take a look at the visuals.
I'm waiting for a miracle. 내 보통뿐인 나날에 Oh, would you be my miracle? 난 너에게 늘 감사해. 저물어 가는 해는 약속을 하지 않아요. 오늘이 지나가도 날 잊지 않길 바라요. I'm waiting for a miracle. 내 보통뿐인 나날에 Oh, let me be your miracle. 난 이미 너를 사랑해. 저물어가는 해는 약속을 하지 않아요. 오늘이 지나가도 내 손을 놓지 말아요. I'm waiting for a miracle. 내 보통뿐인 나날에 Oh, would you be my miracle? 난 이미 너를 사랑해. 저물어가는 해는 약속을 하지 않아요. 오늘이 지나가도 그대 나와 함께 가요. 그대는 나의 기적이죠. 오늘 삶은 기다림 끝에 나를 찾아온 그대. 일어나지 않을 것만 같았던 기적. You'll always be my miracle.
Wow, I feel very uplifted. That's great. Oh, I think your mic's off, Naky. Your microphone's off. You just need to turn it on down at the bottom. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the sharing the video. And I sent a video to your email. Maybe you can check it. The other one. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
No problem. Oh yeah, this is a great example of let me just share my screen. I guess with that 3D form and when your work really went into VR. So let me share.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see that okay?
So it's the recording in the VR experience. So you can see this kind of view when you wear the VR headset.
It's such as someone who's experienced your work through VR, it's such an amazing feeling to actually be within the drawings and like you say, like have that depth and the layers and the colors and the transparency. It's such a fascinating place to be in.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I've got a few things written down for questions, but I'll save them to the end.
Yeah.
And the same with any students, if you've got some questions, make sure to note them down just so you can come back to those afterwards, and we'll sort of talk to both Naky and Laura. But thank you so much. I think I've got like lots of different programs written down here for students to try out, and I think it's really inspiring to see how you can take I guess it was like drawing in 3D in a way, you know, on packaging and in for brands and stuff, but this feels very, very special to take it into VR.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me just
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Back here. Okay, thank you. Fab. So Lorna, we'll come to you now if that's okay.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. And let's get to it. I'll share my screen. So, I'm Lorna. I'm a junior digital art director at a design agency called Luxus Worldwide. I'm also a virtual reality artist. My contact details are down here, so feel free if at any point anyone wants to message me, or if you have any questions later on, feel free to also contact me there. So this presentation will be about imaginary worlds and technology, so a lot about my experiences with VR art, 3D illustration, particularly using Tilt Brush, which Naky just mentioned, but also a little bit about exploring metaverses and other online platforms. So just to give you a kind of overview of my work, I'm just going to show you my reel. So this is my sort of my Tilt Brush reel. So hopefully you can hear it as well. Okay, so yeah, that was kind of just an overview of my work. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. My background is in art and design. I studied at the University of Leeds, and I also did a year abroad in Milan in Italy at the Fine Arts University there. So on the right is a picture of where this all kind of began with immersive arts. My interests were in oil painting, new media, videography, and I really liked colour theory. And I sort of began creating immersive paintings that would be like huge 3-meter long panoramic oil paintings, and I always wanted to immerse people further into my work. So this is kind of what brought me into beginning using 360 and VR to begin with. Yeah, so this became kind of my segue into 360 art, and I tried a few different things, and then eventually came up with a method of manipulating them digitally, my paintings in Photoshop, so that I could view them in a VR headset. So I have an example here of one of my sort of first ever 360 videos. Before I show you that though, I just wanted to show you some of the things that really inspired me when I was getting into 360 and VR. These are probably the top 3 artists who kind of stuck out in my mind at the time. So Hyperplanes of Simultaneity. This one was really cool because it was like a really huge canvas, and it was actually rounded so that you could be immersed in it. But then you could also view it in a headset. So that was one of my sort of main inspirations. And then David Hockney inspired, again, probably size, but also immersion in terms of the way he would paint it and colour theory. And Hannah Hannah by Melody Musset was probably one of the quite early on sort of VR experiences that came out at the time, which was just really strange and had a lot of interactivity. So if anyone wants to look out for these, I would recommend viewing them. And this is my example of my first sort of 360 oil painting. So this was the process that I took. So this is kind of just, there is a way that you can sort of view this yourself. It's called veer.com. But this is just kind of a demonstration of me sort of looking around with my phone in 360. So this was sort of interesting to do because in a panorama, all the shadows, if you sort of flatten it out, all of the shadows are facing different ways. So it was really challenging to try and find a way to kind of match that up on the flat plane. But so you can kind of see that like my interests were in creating imaginary worlds and kind of finding a way to get the viewer closer to the world that I painted. Sorry, just a sec. So yeah, since then my art practice and experiences they began with 360 oil paintings. I then I moved on to tilt brush. So I tried tilt brush during my last year at uni, and I've now been using tilt brush for coming up to 3 years. So from there I kind of created a lot of hand painted virtual experiences. And as Naky kind of mentioned, painting in tilt brush, I found it to be quite similar to painting in real life, or at least drawing it. It was a very familiar experience. Since then, I've kind of moved on, and I've created a lot more 360 and a VR short film, and I now also create kind of AR experiences. So it's kind of was the gateway into creating more virtual experiences. So to talk a little bit about tilt brush in particular, it's literally designing in 3D space. So yeah, you wear the VR headset and you have a number of tools, and you can quite literally paint around yourself. So yeah, there are many different similar software like this, such as Quill. There's also Gravity Sketch, Tori, which is you can animate within. There's also Colory VR, Medium, ones like these. Tilt Brush is now an open source thing, so you can download it straight to your desktop and try it so long as you have a headset. So here are a few examples of some of the things I made sort of a couple of years ago when I first started using Tilt Brush. So I really enjoyed sort of creating virtual worlds that people could explore. And on the right, you'll see an example of I created this timeline pathway of the development of a brand, and then guided people through the experience. So you can see here, someone is saluting Nelson Mandela in the painting. So you can sort of find a way to physically guide people through these experiences, which I found really interesting, and wanted to do more of that. To speak a little bit more about the kind of processes that can be used in Tilt Brush, here is sort of, it was a trailer for the film that I created called Girimit. So this trailer kind of has a lot of the processes that I used, and hopefully you'll be able to see, you'll kind of see my headset and my hands. So I'll just play this for you now. Yeah, so I hope you could kind of see with that. A lot of the kind of, just to go back to sort of the processes. So yeah, Tilt Brush is amazing because you can quite literally like build the environments around yourself. And it's similar to illustration, but there are also some brushes that are more like building, some more like sculpting. And there's just like a really broad range of things that you can do within it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my film, or the film that I worked on, which was called Girimit, created by a company called Naky. It's a 7-minute short film that I worked on throughout the midst of the pandemic, to be honest, so throughout lockdowns. I want to show you a little bit of it. It is a 360 film, so it's kind of best experienced by yourself and also with headphones on, so I won't show you too much. However, yeah, if you'd like to read up on it at any time, this is the link that you'll need to go to. It premiered at Mozilla Festival earlier this year, and it recently won the People's Choice Lovey Award for VR and 360 video category. So I would like to show you a little bit of the film to just give you an idea of, I guess, this is kind of like the biggest project that I've ever attempted within Tilt Brush, and it really is like entering this new virtual world. They were sort of really big canvases, let's say, that I worked on, because it's actually just, you know, just a blank abyss of space. But this was kind of the biggest attempt that I'd had at creating a different world that you could be immersed in. So I'll just show you a scene or two. So this film, it was painted in tilt brush, and then it was brought into Unity to create the camera paths. You can actually export 360 camera paths directly from tilt brush, but this was just a different workflow to do it at the time. So this is a film about the story of
a single step, a silent note.
The story of indentured labour, or the history of indentured labour.
So many endless nights at sea, so many dark days on the shore. What and who was it all for? Flung like stars in a blue eternity. Strangers became sisters, brothers. Nana Nani, Aji Aja. Fathers, mothers. Living together, but still worlds apart. Across the seas you crossed is our flight. A severed kite falling in a starry night.
Okay, yeah, so I won't show you too much more, but yeah, this was a really nice project to work on, and definitely with the amount of storytelling and how in depth the story was that we were trying to tell, it was a really amazing project to work on and create within VR. So another thing that I wanted to talk about to do with VR in particular is exhibiting. So we can, because we're sort of creating these virtual worlds, you can also exhibit your artwork in virtual worlds. So this is an example of a metaverse called Somnium Space, and there is an art district within Somnium Space called that was set up by the incubator of crypto art. And this was a gallery that I created to hold my 360 oil paintings. And on the left is an image of, so this is my avatar, and I've got a physical camera out and I've taken this photo. And it's just a really interesting way and an interesting new way of displaying artwork. I'm sure a lot of you already are aware of metaverses and stuff, but Somnium Space in particular is a really good one for kind of for art and illustration, and yeah, so I just thought I'd highlight that. And then this is Somnium Space if anyone's interested. This is what you'll look for, and also it's good to it would be good to look up the incubator of crypto art and just get an idea of what's available in the metaverse space. So as well as metaverses, in the past year or two, as we all know, virtual events have needed to become a lot more popular. So this is an example of a virtual event. This was the Italian Fashion Week, which went all online, and I was actually able to display my virtual artwork within this virtual event setting. And so I've said here, imaginary worlds go mainstream. So it's interesting to see kind of from the kind of when I started working in VR, how now it's actually become a really commonplace thing, and kind of conceptually these imaginary worlds are now sort of integrated into our daily lives. Some other platforms that I want to talk about. So this is Sketchfab. I have an account on Sketchfab, and you can experience my models if you either in 3D space. You can also download them to use them, and you can also view them if you have a Google Cardboard or anything like that. You can just view them straight in your headset. But this is just a really good platform for discovering other artists' work, downloading it. A lot of stuff will be free for you to use, so you can just download it, you can view it if you like. So this is just another one to be aware of. So this slide, I just wanted to talk about this quickly because this Thursday, if you're interested in the extended realities in VR and AR, there is this art fest this Thursday. It's in the Reality Centre, which is in West London. So please do point your camera at that QR code if you're interested. I think you do need to pay for some tickets, but if you're interested, I'm doing a performance here. So if anyone, again, has any questions or wants to come and try some VR art, so it'll be like a participatory thing. So I'll kind of be demonstrating, but you can also come and have a go. So things like this is how I started in VR. I didn't have the means to buy a headset, you know. So going to events like this is kind of how I got myself into VR to begin with. So if anyone's interested, please do come along. And that's me. Thank you. Thanks very much. And yeah, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or are interested in any of this.
Thank you so much, Lorna. That was so interesting, and again, lots more questions to come up. It's so interesting to hear about the impact the pandemic had on your work, but maybe we'll come to that afterwards, and maybe a student's got a question about that. I just want to give a big round of applause to both you and Naky. Fascinating practices and using it for all different sort of types of work. Narrative seems really important, but then we've got abstraction, we've got like social and cultural and just, you know, issues that we need to be talking about, doing it all through VR, AR, and yeah, extending realities. And beautiful to see how you went from oil painting and that, you know, really hands-on technical really difficult way to paint and applied it to this, you know, such an amazing 3D experience. It's incredible. I didn't even know it started like that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so I'm going to go through a few questions now, so let me share my files. So this is to both of you really. So firstly, I wondered, what role does drawing play within your practice? You both touched upon that, but I wonder if you could go into a bit more detail, perhaps. Naky, how about you?
Yeah. So drawing is the starting point of my work. So yeah, without drawing, I can't do anything. I can't start my work. So basically, I work with my experiences. Based on my experiences, I make my work, and I need to translate my experiences to my own visual language. And yeah, drawing is the tool to translate it.
On that, I wonder, because can you tell us a bit more about, you mentioned about your innerscape and the shapes and what they represent, and yeah, interesting.
So I collect some of the images, or some, can I say, some feelings and emotions from my experiences, and then I start drawing without any plan. And yeah, and to explain the shape and color, I put kind of short poem to, like, the collage using the words, and yeah, to explain my work. So this is the one of my work. I'm not sure. This is it's the map to guide my drawing, and this is can you see?
Yeah, can you read them out for us?
One of them.
Maybe a couple, maybe like two of your favorite ones.
My favorite, so yeah, this one. This is the title is the Friends. I had friends, they are ruins. And the other, my favorite, is this one. Parade of mothers. I miss you, and you miss your mother. Your mother misses her mother. Her mother misses her mother.
It's really emotional and quite personal.
Yeah, it's just personal, emotional. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lorna.
Yeah.
No,
carry on.
I mean, so it's very hard to express myself in a verbal language, so that's why I use drawing to just show and communicate my feelings and emotions to other people. Yeah, thank you.
I think a lot of people will connect to that, actually, being able to express themselves through images more perhaps than verbally. I felt that at times as well, so that's really interesting to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lorna, how about you? What role does drawing play?
So definitely all of my tilt brush practice art is essentially drawing, but in 3D physical space. But even in sort of projects that I work on within my role at design agency, I do sort of find ways to bring in drawing skills that I've had for many years, starting my degree and stuff like that. So but yeah, no, tilt brush, it really is, as I say, it kind of depends on what tool you decide to use. But I think whether it's drawing or you prefer painting or sculpting, there's kind of a way to bring all of these different elements into the practice.
Yeah, it was interesting that I didn't even think about sculpting really as being part of it, but of course when you're working in 3D, sculpting is going to be a key part of it. And it'd be so interesting to experience that. I want to have a go on the tilt brush. That's what I want to do. So
tilt brush, I would say, is more sort of building blocky, but there are different versions where you can carve away and do things that are more similar to, say, like a 3D program.
And Lorna, moving on to the next question, because it seemed like you took quite a big jump to go from oil painting to creating 3D landscapes. How did it feel learning those technologies required?
So So I would say initially it felt very exciting, very intuitive. I mean, compared to say like other digital mediums, it was very intuitive, and anyone that I know who's got sort of a creative background immediately kind of understand it, pick it up. But then I would say, so the initial kind of thing was just amazing and intuitive, but I think after a while, you start to learn more about the software, you start to learn more about the kind of ins and outs and the deeper parts of it, and it can be a little bit more confusing. So I would say I'm still learning. It doesn't end, but because your kind of gamut just gets bigger and bigger for what you want to learn. But definitely sort of the initial experiences, there's not sort of one person really that I've seen who's not picked up immediately, and it kind of just opens this thing within you.
Yeah. What would you say to students who felt like they really wanted to have a go, but they weren't quite sure how to start off?
Do you mean sort of having given that they have the equipment, or do you mean?
I guess both. Both.
Yeah, because so I used to go to events, and that's how I started even using VR or trying it. And then I used Tilt Brush for the first time at an event. There was a company that kind of kept having people over, and they said that I could come in and try. And then I suppose I didn't watch any tutorials or anything. As I said, I just learned the hard way by trial and error. But I would suggest, I mean, there are tons of tutorials out there that are really good. There's one guy called Danny Bittman. He's very good. But as I said, I do think that anyone with a sort of creative background, especially with Tilt Brush, I found is very easy to get to grips with.
Yeah, that's a good first port of call, really. And that's free. Well, open source at the moment.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Naky, I've got a question. I'll ask you first of all. Is do you feel a strong connection to narrative and storytelling within your work?
Yes, of course. Story. We need story in our life, isn't it? And I'm also a kind of person who need the reason for everything, like I traveled like, so I'm not that religious person, but my mom, she's a Catholic, and I followed her when she do the pilgrimages to the countries like Israel or some the other countries, like had the story in the, so she can, how can I say, trace the Bible, the story in the Bible. So I felt like, so from the pilgrimage, I realized that we need a story. People need a story to make the system of our society, or make the structure of our life, or find the reason why we are living in this way, or why our society have this shape like this. And from that experiences, I found that story is really important, and and I also feel the strong connection with the story, and even so so it affects to my work as well. Is it the right good answer? I'm not sure.
I thought that was a great answer. No, absolutely. And that's what, as image makers and storytellers fundamentally, we're all sort of trying to communicate something with our work. So it's really interesting interesting to hear that even, you know, as digital and as technical as things can get, there's this fundamental link back to narrative, to storytelling, which is something that I know a lot of our students have a deep and passionate interest in. So I think it's really inspiring to hear how important it is to you, to your family, and to human beings as well.
Too grounded. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Lorna, how about you? And especially, I
Yeah.
guess, sorry, go on. I was going to say in relation to the project Gurmit, because that feels very
So that one, obviously the narrative was this huge history, and we had to try and find a way to create a 7-minute short film out of it. So such a strong connection to the meaning behind it and how we were going to convey it. And we spent, you know, months, and there was a huge team all working on this one narrative that was trying to tell an entire history. So the connection to kind of storytelling in that particular project was huge, and it really was the base foundation of the whole project. So I do find that when watching it, it's something that I'm most personally connected to as well, because, you know, we would talk about it for hours and hours and hours, and I do think that comes through when you watch it. I do think that you do get the sense of that when you watch it. But even before then, so I was kind of primarily an environment artist, and I guess one of the things that I quite liked about making immersive paintings, albeit in VR tilt brush, was that kind of idea of like feeling the narrative, or kind of feeling the story that was being told, and doing it without character sometimes, or without words, and having the narrative kind of just exist around you. That was kind of one of the things that really drew me towards VR. And bringing it back to the Gurmit project, like having those two things combined, it was kind of just like the perfect way to kind of try and convey this history that needed to be told.
Do you feel like history then now has quite an important role to play within your practice, or things you might want to do in the future?
Definitely this in that project, it was in kind of my I've never sort of had to deal with a topic that was that deep and had so much to it. I definitely think it was the right medium to explore this history within, because I feel like anyone who experiences it can share that experience and kind of share what they felt about it, which is different to just watching a documentary or reading a book. But whether or not history will play such a role in my future artworks, we'll see, I guess. But yeah, so this was sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, you know, ... it might.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great project to work on.
I mean, as soon as this ends, I'm going straight to watch the whole 7 minutes of it. I'm sure many of us will be. It looks amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Lorna. And so this is the last question from me, and then we'll throw it out to the group, to the students, and Naky, we'll come to you first. So what does VR allow you to explore in regards to creating imaginary worlds? And the reason I ask this is because a lot of our students have amazing skills, talents, and brains who create amazing stories and narratives. And so I think it'll be inspiring to hear from you as to how maybe they could push that further with these technologies that you're using.
For me, it's too personal, but as I might say before, I am really introverted person, so it's not easy to show what I'm thinking and feeling, but with VR, it's just I can just show the imaginary words that I create. Yeah, so yeah, it's a really simple for me, and yeah, maybe like this. I can't really explain myself, but just showing VR words, that's really easy. Maybe that could be the starting point of the
Oh, we've got someone's mic on there. Thank you for that little song. Thank you, Naky. I think that's so important, just to think about how we are with people, and you talk about being introverted, but through your work, through your practice, and through your creative talents, you're able to find a space that you feel comfortable and you feel excited to share, and allow people can join you in that. So I think that's fantastic. Thank you. And Lorna, how about you?
Yeah, I think agreeing with Naky, there is a part of it that is like escapism. I mean, I think most people who illustrate or paint, they like to imagine these places that they're painting. So the thing that VR allows you to explore in regards to that is that you can actually be within them, and if you kind of allow yourself to forget that you're not there, then it can feel very real, and it's just quite nice to be able to, because say the difference between painting on canvas is that you can get into it and you can feel as though you're in it, but actually when you have nothing but blank space and you have to literally build up around yourself, then whatever you create is kind of where you feel as though you actually are. So the whole thing is imaginary. So and sort of in the same sense, when you're in these virtual spaces, things like physics don't matter. For instance, the same thing about having like loads of space. You can just, the space can just keep going until the software won't allow you to anymore. So things that don't usually, or things that do matter in the real world, so physics and stuff, don't exist. So it also means that you can create things that are kind of beyond this realm and just completely kind of pin it to your imagination.
I love that. Yeah, physics, no laws, everything's just up to you to create and carve out and draw in this space. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Those are questions I was very intrigued to know, and I'd like to open it up to our wonderful students now as well. I wonder if anyone has a burning question to ask, and if you do, if you want to raise your hand, and then we can come to you and you can turn your mic on and ask Lorna or Naky about anything. Hi, Lucy.
Hello, you okay? Hello.
To you.
You do. I just have a question about what you both think about like the future of VR and where you see your own practices going, and also how you think it might be involved more. Like Lorna had mentioned about, obviously we use it much more now because of the pandemic and things being online. So yeah, if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen a change even from when I started using VR to now. and then particularly through the pandemic, things changed again, because I think VR was kind of held for sort of physical, real events, and then the pandemic kind of saw that change where we just thought, well, it's already virtual, let's just put it all online. So definitely metaverses, you know, the recent news, Meta and Facebook, and you know, there are tons of other metaverses, and I would see that metaverses will rise, and I think there are interesting ways that artists in particular can use them. So I would say that I can see a lot of that happening, and VR in general is becoming more and more popular. But I also think, interestingly, we've kind of been in a phase where it's been in this unregulated, for the most part, phase. I can see now that it will be more and more regulated as we move on. So yeah, definitely I can see things changing, and with Tiltbrush as well. So Tiltbrush is now open source. This means that anyone can take the code and they can build their own games out of it, their own applications, which people are already doing. So I feel like, you know, we're really at the beginning of this, and there's definitely lots to come.
Thank you, Lorna. I wonder, can you give us an explanation of metaverse? Because I think maybe some people aren't quite sure what that might mean, but it's something that keeps coming back in the conversation. So yeah, what does that mean to you?
I don't know how close my definition will be to the definition, but metaverses, from what I understand, are huge social planets where people can sort of buy space or occupy space and do something that they'd like to do within it. So lots of metaverses have galleries, for instance, but you know, there are also metaverses that have more sort of gamified approaches, and there's kind of a difference between like a big social game and a metaverse, and usually it comes down to there's a currency that runs it, that it kind of works on, and they're usually, yeah, you can buy things within the world, you can travel around them, they're usually monetized spaces.
Right. Thank you. That's really helpful. Naky, did you have anything to add to that question from Lucy about the future of your practice within VR or VR in general?
I think it's a similar way that the smartphone get the population in our society. Yeah, maybe there's a threshold for the VR as well, so it's coming closer to the threshold and after that, then maybe, yeah, because one of the pioneers of the VR said that we have a VR because it's just possible. So I think, yeah, yeah, and yeah, I think so.
It's going to be more and more. Everyone's going to have experience.
Yeah, because when we see the history of the media, our media is developed to the way that there's no interface. We are removing the interface. Like, how can I say? So it's more smaller than smaller, and we are erase the interface itself. We just see in that like images, isn't it? So yeah. I think it's the future of the media, I guess.
Heard it here first. Amazing. Thank you. Thanks both, and thanks Lucy for that great question. Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask? I had one. another one. I wanted to know just a bit more about collaboration within your projects, and I thought it was interesting because you kind of both touched upon the fact that within the headset only one person can experience it at a time, but actually it seems like a lot of people work together to make these worlds. So I don't know, I thought that was an interesting sort of connection there, or juxtaposition perhaps, and I wondered about both of your experiences within of collaboration within your projects and practice.
So I've found that a lot of the stuff that I've collaborated on, I'm still working in the headset alone. There are softwares that you can use that you can actually be with other people in the space. So there's something called multi-brush, which has branched off from Tiltbrush since the code went open source. So I'm actually yet to try that, but I've heard it's heaps of fun. But otherwise, kind of, yeah, collaboration has been limited to usual ways of doing it. But what I think one great thing about VR is that so I've had sort of other artists send me 3D models, and then I can put them within my space. So I have this relationship with I'm an artist in residence at the Immersive Kind, and what they like to do is they like to kind of reuse my environment art and put their avatars inside of it, which is really nice. So that kind of way of collaborating is quite nice because, yeah, artists will send me kind of 3D models, whether it's avatars or even like fashion. So I do a lot of sort of fashion pieces, and then they can sort of sit inside my environment, which is a nice way of kind of coupling it.
Yeah, that sounds great. And Naky, how about you? There's quite a lot of collaboration pieces, even sort of like taking the work that you create in VR, but then they're actually seen in like restaurants or
Yeah.
in your tent. And yeah, how does collaboration come into your practice?
Actually, I never done any collaboration in a VR project. Well, I really want to, you know. I'm really familiar. Yeah, I feel comfortable when I work alone, but I recently I feel that, yeah, the collaboration is really essential thing that work as an artist or something. So yeah, I just want to, but I don't know which way I could take or which, yeah, yeah.
So it's not collaboration isn't key in when you're actually creating within VR, but there's other points that might, so like you might work with a designer or an art director.
Yeah. So when I make the menu design, I or kind of work with the chef and, you know, can I say that it's also collaboration?
Yeah, I think there's different types of collaboration. So some might be you're making the visuals, but other people will sit or would sort of like art direct you or color.
In that way, I can say that I've done the collaborations. Yeah, it was really happy. It was really exciting to visualize their thoughts and their something some messages from them to share with their customers or their the public. So, yeah. It feel like I became a translator, visual translator.
Oh, really? That's so interesting. Yeah.
It was really fun and so happy to be,
to be a part of it and to turn what into your own visual language and share that with other people.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Naky. So that was my question. So I'll open it out to the room again, the virtual room, and see if anyone has any questions before we wrap up for the evening. No, I think that's it. Well, thank you so much, Lorna and Naky, for coming and sharing your time with us tonight. I've learnt a whole lot of stuff about VR, and I'm extremely inspired to go and have a look at more of your work, and to try and have a go at myself. And yeah, again, that shout out, Lorna. Was it Saturday? That people can come.
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. So what was it? Monday now. So Thursday, if you fancy having a go, if anyone does, maybe send me or Angela an email, and then we can pass those details on to you more directly if you didn't manage to get the screenshot today. It'd be a fantastic opportunity to have that first step into VR. Great. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, have a lovely evening, everybody, and we'll see you all soon.